Video ended up being way longer than I expected, so I won't waste any time with an introduction. I said in the group chat that I think Trevor Lawrence is way overrated, and I'm going to show you why today. So will he suck in the NFL? I don't know, but he's way overhyped, and for one reason, and that's his very poor mechanics. Obviously got a lot of things going for him. He's got a winning pedigree. He went undefeated, beat Alabama, went undefeated again, and his first loss was to LSU in the national championship game. Everyone around him says he's got great character, so that's going to work in his favor. However, he's got really bad mechanics, and that's a huge red flag, especially for a quarterback who's 6'6", and we'll talk about why. So let's talk about throwing mechanics. Three moves that generate throwing velocity. The first move is a whipping or slinging action of the arm, and we can see a lot of arm lag here. As you can see, all that energy stored up here, ready to whip on through the release point. Whenever Justin Verlander here is ready to release that ball. What we don't want to see is the arm up here with very little energy stored and very little whipping motion. That's going to create a really slow release. You want to see a lot of rotation in the hips, and so you want to see this left hip is going to snap back as his torso is rotating, adding extra power to this whipping action. And then the third thing to add power is you take a big step towards your target, and then you take a big wind up. And an important note about these power accumulators is that you want to maximize each one before moving on to the next one or introducing the next one. So like if you're only throwing 5 feet, you kind of just flick the wrist, right? If you throw a football 5 feet, but then if you throw it 10 yards, you kind of snap your hip a little bit and add a little extra arm sling. And then if you're throwing 30 yards, then you take a step and you throw. But if you're only throwing 10 feet, you wouldn't really step. So you want to sling and then rotate and sling, or step, rotate, sling. All right, so let's take a look at the three moves in action here. We have Justin Verlander still in the Detroit Tigers. There's a video of that delivery. Great pitching mechanics here. So he's going to take the big step. He's going to get a nice rotation, and then he's going to release all this lag. So you can see there again. Big step here. He's going to start to rotate these hips after he takes that big step. So rotating the hips right there. Left hip goes backwards. He's got a lot of stored lag here. It's all going to get released. Arm not up here, arm back here. A lot of stored energy in that arm. And then you can see at the moment of release, the left hip, the left leg goes straight. This hip is snapped back, the ball is released. Everything's working together. Justin Verlander, great mechanics. Next, we'll look at a javelin thrower. Okay, so here we have the number 2 javelin in world history. I have no idea who this guy is, but this is the number 2 javelin thrower in world history. Obviously, throwing mechanics are still the same concepts still apply. Giant step, rotation in the hips, and then look at all this lag stored up here in the arm. That's all going to get released. All right, so let's talk about how these three moves matter to the NFL. So the characteristics of NFL passing game, you got very limited time. You got these 300-pound men chasing after you. That means you also have very limited space. You're going to have a pocket, and a lot of times you'll have to throw out of very tight quarters. And unlike javelin and pitching, you're not throwing straight down the field or straight at the catcher. You have to drop back and then throw at all sorts of these different angles. So you're going to have to be able to throw left, throw right, etc. And what that means is that with these D linemen chasing after you and linebackers blitzing and stuff, you're not going to have space to step into a throw or wind up. And with a limited time, you're going to have a very quick release, especially if you're hitting, gaps between zones and you want to hit quick window throws. And so what that means for throwing mechanics is that you must be able to generate velocity with only rotation and arm sling, because you can't afford to be stepping into throws. You don't have the time, you don't have the space, and you need quick releases to be able to hit tight windows. All right, let's take a look at good mechanics in the NFL. We'll start with Patrick Mahomes. We'll talk about how he slings his arm, because he's really the master of the arm sling. So just really natural arm talent. This is just last week against the Panthers. You can see just real nice natural arm sling to Travis Kelce. Good thing about slinging is you don't really have to set your feet. You can see how he can throw from any position. He doesn't really have to step towards his target at all, and he can still generate really nice arm lag here to whip on through to Travis Kelce. Really nice sling. Right. Okay, the next clip is from the Super Bowl. Last year, this is the big 3rd and 15 deep shot to Tyreek. This is the turning point of the game. They're down by 10 at this point, 7 minutes left. Bottom of the drop back. You can see a bunch of pressure around him, but look at how nicely this arm is. Look at that lag. Patrick Mahomes is the only guy in the NFL that can get in a position like this, by the way. The amount of lag stored in that arm going to come whipping on through. Big pass to Tyreek. And a big moment for Super Bowl champ. This is Odell Beckham from last year. Again, really naturally talented athlete. This is a ball that goes 60 yards in the air, and he jump passes this. Why? Because he's so good at slinging this arm. Look at the amount of lag he's got stored up in that arm right there. The arm is, flat to being under flat, really. He's got a ton of lag stored up in there. Just gonna release that all through. It's his receiver in the hands. The guy drops it because they're the Browns. From the back, we got Tom Brady. This was in the Super Bowl a couple years ago. The biggest pass to Gronk. We all know how this one turned out. But you can see from the back, Brady got a nice slinging action. Slinging with the arm. You can see a lot of lag stored up from the behind view. Releases on through. And one thing you'll notice about all these guys is they narrow stance. They stay pretty upright there. Not a lot of energy. Just a nice flowing slinging action. But, doesn't look like he's trying real hard there. Nice accurate ball. Missed the ball, but we all know what happens. Here's Rodgers from behind at a golf tournament. This is actually Steph Curry running the route. But here's Rodgers at a golf tournament. Same kind of deal. And these back shots are important because we'll look at Trevor Lawrence later. So you can see the arm sling, the amount of lag he's got stored up in that arm, releases it all nice and upright. Nice little adjustment by Steph. And a nice catch. All right, Rodgers, this is probably the most iconic play of his career, maybe. This is against the Cowboys in 2016 in the divisional round, 3rd and 20. Last play of the game, pretty much. This sets up the game-winning field goal. This is the dart to Jared Cook along the sideline. What a throw there. But you can see, any position here, slings the arm. Great lag. Both feet off the ground, doesn't matter. He's going to whip this arm on through to generate that velocity. All right, so we're going to take a look at a bunch of clips of Jimmy G now, because a lot of these clips are going to demonstrate what Jimmy G does really well. A lot of that's what Trevor Lawrence needs to do a better job of, and a lot of these clips are just going to show what's required of quarterbacking in the NFL. So first thing we'll notice about Jimmy, when he steps into these throws, his foot actually moves backwards. That's because he's snapping his hips. He's rotating his hips so hard that left foot is actually going backwards. So you notice he doesn't require any space to move up to make a throw like this. Second thing we'll notice, his release is nice and compact. It takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 frames for that ball to come out. It's ultra fast. That's about a quarter of a second. We'll notice that he's thrown his receiver open here. The receiver's not open when he decides to make this throw, but he's open by the time the ball gets there. And look at how tight this window is. And so, limited space, limited time, still able to get the ball out very quickly, make a nice accurate throw, hit the receiver in the face. Next play here. This is against the Seahawks, good team. This is an outside zone RPO. You can tell because all these linemen, they take the same step in run blocking to the right, zone blocking. You can see all those guys get covered. So these uncovered guys, they move up to the second level to the linebackers. Really nice job by the Niners. All their legs are moving in unison. You can see how synchronized they are. So these guys kind of blow it back here. So Jimmy G decides not to hand it off. Instead, he's going to keep it. And he needs to make this decision and get this ball out super quick. Otherwise, 56 is going to get a hand on it. And so if his release is just a little bit slower, he can't make this throw. It's Debo in the face. So foot moves back. Ball is out in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It was like 8 or 9, something like that. Frames. Hits Debo in the face. Another thing we'll notice with a bunch of these play action slant clips is that Jimmy G is going to hit Debo in the face a lot and allow him to rack up a bunch of yards after catch. And you can see the effect of the quick release here. So Debo barely gets by this crashing safety, and if that release is just a tenth of a second slower, he might get tackled here. Barely gets the first down, but instead Debo takes it 20 more yards up the field. Next play. Got another play action, another quick release, tight window throw. So again, Jimmy G, very limited space, people crashing in around him. Not a lot of space, not a lot of time. Foot moves back, ball comes out extra quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Like 8.5 frames, that ball's out again. Tight window throw. Avoids a bunch of linebackers, hits the receiver in the face, Emmanuel Sanders. Against the Packers, this one's from a different angle. Going right to left. All the other clips are from left to right. I tried to do that, but this one's right before half. It's just another back of the drop back. Doesn't need to step up. Guns that right there, hits Debo in the face. Allows Debo to make all this yards after catch for the touchdown. Good play, Debo. Good ball placement by Jimmy. Quick release. Limited space. Get the ball out. They go into New Orleans and win this game. This was a very big game last year. So another play action. Again, limited space. Foot moves back. Ball comes out extra quick. Another super tight window throw here. That's what's required in the NFL to be able to make these kinds of throws around Cam Jordan there, I think, and then through these linebackers. And this doesn't happen if this ball just comes out a little bit slower. Allows Emmanuel Sanders to pick up a bunch of yards after catch too. Against the Saints again. Again, another one, ball comes out super quick, hits Debo in the face. But you can see again, back of the drop back, very limited space. Foot doesn't need to move forward, it moves backwards. Comes through, Jimmy won't generate the most arm lag here. No, that's not the most you'll ever see. But he does such a great job with these hips here. And rotating these hips, getting the ball out quick. And still making accurate throws to the face. Allows Debo to pick up more yards after catch. Around the goal line. Again here. Steps backward, doesn't need to step forward. Gets this ball out ultra quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 frames again, that ball's out. It's receiver in the face. Alright, so all those throws were like 10, 20 yard bullets. So that's some long balls, right? So here he is, again, very limited space, right? Back of the drop back. He doesn't have any room to climb up in this pocket, but he can deliver this ball stepping to the side and kind of stepping backwards because there's just no space here. No time, no space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 frames on a ball that goes 55 yards down the field. 55 yards down the field to Emmanuel Sanders from standing still, moving backwards. It's the Seahawks again. Once again, just no space here. Foot moves backwards. Kind of loops around here, but he's a shorter guy. He can afford to do that. Get some nice lag there. But again, the point is no space. Great hip rotation. No space. Doesn't need to step forward. Snaps those hips. Ball comes out super quick. It's his receiver in the hands. George Kittle. Against the Seahawks again. Another one of these play action plays that are just, I'm showing so many of these because these are just so prevalent in like these West Coast passing offenses, these Kyle Shanahan offenses, where he's got to make this RPO read. This one's more of a power blocking. You can see how these guys swing out. And once again, limited space, foot moves backwards. And he makes these quick release throws that are thrown into these really tight windows that, 10th of a second, defender gets their hand on it. But instead, Jimmy gets the first down. Bunch of yards after catch. Turns into a tremendous gain. And this was the divisional round against the Vikings. He marches down the field here. This whole drive is worth watching. But here's the best play of it. And once again, it just shows that in the NFL, you're going to have to make these throws. Limited time, limited space into really tight windows here. So you can see at the bottom of the drop back here, it looks like, you know, there's no way he can make this throw. That's way too tight a window. You can't get the ball out that quick, so instead you wait for Kendrick Bourne to clear, throw it into that hole there after he's, you know, around the other side of that linebacker, right? But Jimmy's release is so quick, doesn't require any space to execute. Foot goes back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Like that's seven frames maybe 8 frames the ball is out. It's Kendrick Bourne in the face, you know, barely going by these guys' hands right here. So that's just what's required in the NFL. And here's in the Super Bowl, big 3rd and 8. They're nursing a lead. They want to get into field goal range. I know he misses a big throw later on in the 4th, but Jimmy really didn't play bad here. And so Colin Cowherd, you're crazy for thinking that the Niners should move on from him. But steps back here. Bottom of the drop back, doesn't need to climb up in the pocket at all. Bottom of the drop back, foot moves backwards. Quick release, ball's out. Drills a 3rd and 8. Right on the money. I mean, how many quarterbacks in the NFL can stand back there and make this throw? Easily a top 10 quarterback. Right at the back of the drop back. Stands in there with the pocket collapsing around him. Doesn't need to climb up. No space. Drills that receiver right in the face. Kendrick Bourne. All right, so let's talk about some other quarterbacks with great mechanics. This is Tom Brady. This was against the Texans in 2017. I remember watching this from an airport in Houston, which is pretty sweet because we're playing the Texans here. So the last play of the game, Brandon Cooks caught this one for the game-winning touchdown. Here's Brady. Once again, you see tiny step here, narrow feet, and a ton of lag in the arm. So Brady, lots of lag in the arm, nice narrow stance, upright body. Delivers a beautiful ball to Brandon Cooks. For the win. Peyton, back in 2003 when he had great mechanics before his neck started fucking him over. So you can see a little bit wider, but you know, not a wide stance by any means. Nice narrow stance. A lot of lag in the arm. Nice upright position. Delivers a beautiful ball to Brandon Stokely. All right, so now we got Justin Herbert. So Peyton's 6'5", Tom is 6'4", Justin Herbert's 6'6". So if you were saying that, you know, Lawrence isn't going to be like Jimmy G or Mahomes or Rodgers because all those guys are 6'2", and Lawrence is too tall, here's really tall guys also throwing with great mechanics and quick releases. So Herbert here. This is from last week too. So Herbert, narrow stance. Doesn't step up at all. Doesn't need to step up. Quick release. And so when you get to these tall guys, one thing that's really important to look out for is this ball needs to come up here and then get released like that. You don't want this ball, which we'll see in a second with really bad mechanics. You don't want to see this ball leaking out down here on the takeaway. You can see here, great arm lag, nice narrow stance, limited space here, didn't need to move up in the pocket, delivers a nice ball to Keenan Allen, I think, yeah, Keenan Allen. Next play. Again, bottom of his drop back, doesn't need to step up, narrower stance, good takeaway, good fast takeaway. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 9th frame ball's out, which is, you know, pretty good for a tall guy, right? Against arm lag. Nice ball. Keenan Allen again. All right, so we talked about some quarterbacks with really good mechanics and what that looks like. We want a lot of arm lag. You know, we want a narrow stance. We want a quick release that doesn't take up too much space. So let's take a look at bad mechanics now. And this is Matt Castle, our old friend Matt Castle on the Cowboys. So look at bottom of his drop back. So he's gonna try to hit someone out here, but look at how far he steps up. So look, he needed to take this gigantic lunge step forward. His feet are really far apart, and he's not generating a whole lot of arm lag. You can see there, it's like 45 degrees, whereas the other guys, they were a little bit flatter, or even flat if you were like Mahomes. Matt Castle's up here with really wide feet, and why is that? It's because, as I mentioned before, Matt Castle's not rotating his hips well, and he's not lagging his arm well. And what does that mean? That means he needs to lunge forward. And so it requires a lot of time, a lot of space. Watch this release. It takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's like 11 frames to get that ball out versus 8 for Garoppolo. And this ball, of course, is inaccurate and gets intercepted. So here we have Brock Osweiler from a few years ago on Houston. Another guy, 6'7", so pretty tall. He's going to have a very slow release, also going to have poor arm lag and needs to step into this throw to create velocity. So you can see a pretty wide base. This is not the worst of his throws I'm about to show. I'm about to show you the one that's worse. But you'll notice this this takeaway here is getting a little long, right? This ball's kind of chilling out down here. You don't want that ball chilling. You want it more up here and then gone. You don't want it to come looping around here and then gone. So, and then not a lot of arm lag at the top. You know, that's a little upright, more upright than we would like to see. We would like to see a little more energy so it can come whipping through there. And again, this results in poor ball placement because, you know, he's stepping into a space where he's got space, but, you know, he's off balance and everything. And then this ball's behind this receiver. So instead of like Jimmy G's balls where they take it up the field for a massive gain, he's going to get tackled here just 5 yards after the first down, 7 yards or whatever. Another Brock throw. So you can see here, this is a really good example of what Trevor's about to look like. So you can see bottom of his drop back, takes this enormous step forward, enormous step. The takeaway is all the way back here. So now we get into these really bad takeaways where the arm is in this kind of 90 degrees bent down position. The ball's chilling out down here. This is really death sentence for tall throwers especially. He takes this gigantic lunge step into this throw. He's got decent lag here, you know, but one of the things with these giant lunges is you'll notice seems like all the energy is going this way and the ball is going to come out a little high on him. He's got decent arm lag here, but once again, that's created by a giant lunge step. He's not really rotating well. Giant step here. You really need to step into this one. And this ball only goes about 45, 50 yards in the air, but he's putting everything he's got into this. He's 6'7". He should be able to throw a ball better than that. This ball actually drills Will Fuller in the hands, but he drops it. So, sad times for Will Fuller. All right, now we get to Carson Wentz. Another comparable like Trevor Lawrence, 6'5". It's a tall throwing motion, and you can see Carson Wentz. We're going to watch a Trevor Lawrence play in a second that looks a lot like this one, where he's rolling out to the left and he tries to gun this ball. And you can see here this long-ass takeaway is going to cost him. This is a death sentence for a throw right here. You can't make a throw from this position. Look, this arm is so stuck back here, you can't make a good throw. And then you see when he comes through, like the lag is there, but this is like a sidearm piece of shit that sails on him. Of course, it's intercepted. Again here, Carson Wentz. Again, you know, wide base, much wider than Peyton or Tom. And you can see he comes through with very little arm lag. There's very little right there. And once again, you see that giant ugly takeaway. Very bad position to be in, and doesn't create the kind of lag necessary to make NFL throws. Interception. Carson Wentz again, rolling out. Once again, in order to throw this deep, he has to take a gigantic step. Look at how far forward this foot goes. Remember Jimmy G, he stands there still. The foot maybe goes backwards. Carson Wentz is taking enormous steps forward. The feet are really wide. His arm's bent really bad like that. Comes forward, gets some good lag there, but again, the feet are way too wide. All the energy is moving this way. Ball's coming out like that. Where is this ball going? Nice tackle there by the Eagles player. So now we finally get to Trevor Lawrence, the man of the hour. And we'll see, I'll start with a couple of his good throws, or quote-unquote good throws, and then we'll go to the national championship and break that entire game down, show you why playing the NFL is really going to be quite a bit of trouble for him. So here's Trevor Lawrence. These are his highlights that we'll start off with. So this is supposed to be his good tape, because it would be kind of unfair if I only found his bad tape, right? So this is good tape, or supposed to be his good tape. So once again, you can see this is a good ball that he delivers, but look at this. Bottom of the drop back, needs to take huge step forward, very far apart feet, arm really bad position there, comes through, hard to see there, but his arm angle is like almost vertical. There's really not a lot of lag there at all. There's really just not a lot. Good ball, but if that's your highlight throw, if that's like the best throw, I don't want. Ooh, that's not very good mechanics. Here's another play. So this is one of those play action plays, like the kinds of plays that the Niners are going to run, and a lot of these West Coast offenses are going to run these days. This is from a game just a couple weeks ago, so this is very recent. I think right before he got COVID. But you can see, first of all, his feet are really flaily. Requires a very wide base. I really don't know what he's doing with his feet right here. But again, this is just to make about a 15-yard bullet pass. And look at all the space he needs. He needs to step up. One big step here, and then another big step to create this really wide base to throw from. Why? Because he's not generating a ton of lag with his arm. And so he needs to lunge into this throw. Not a lot of rotation, not a lot of arm lag. Needs to lunge into throw. Requires a ton of space. And one thing that you'll notice about all these highlights is he's got the cleanest pockets to throw from. And he's also throwing wide open receivers too. There's no one around this guy. So once again, wide base, bad takeaway, not a lot of arm lag, not a lot of arm lag coming through. It's a touchdown, but here's another one, another play action. Once again, look at this. There's nobody around him for like miles, and he still feels the need to step into this throw this much, this wide of a base. And once he gets through the throwing zone, not a whole lot of arm lag there. Not a whole lot. Very lungy throw. Very lungy, weak throw. Another touchdown, though. And I think we'll see this play from the back. That's why it's still running. Yeah, so we'll see this play from the back. So remember Rodgers and Brady earlier, what they looked like. I mentioned they were very upright. So you can see Trevor here. You never get that ball position like behind the shoulder, under the shoulder like the other guys do. It's always out in front of him. It's above him, whatever. He's kind of pushing this ball forward. He's shot putting that ball forward. And you can see like on his follow through, he's very bent over here because he's really trying to push this ball forward. And instead of being upright and just slinging the arm, he really has to force this one down the field. Again, here's Brady again. You can see here, much better position. I was like almost above the ball there. And then he stays nice and upright. Nice and upright through the throw. Once again from the other week. Another one of these play action ones that they run a lot in the NFL these days. And again, he requires way too much space to operate. Look at his feet. Look at how flaily these feet are. This is a position you don't really want your ankles to ever be in. Wide feet. Once again, needs the super wide wind up with not a lot of arm lag to throw only, like 15 yards down the field. Big wind up. And the other thing, let's count these releases. These are all slow, by the way. So this one's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that's something like, 11 frames or so to get this ball out versus 8 for Jimmy. Slow release. Very slow. So now we get to the national championship game. So I'm going to show you some Burrow plays because Burrow outplays Lawrence by a whole lot in this game. So we go to the national championship, and immediately we'll see a huge difference here. There's a deep shot by Burrow in the first. This is their first points of the game. So you can see Burrow, he needs to step up because this is deep. But again, his base for throwing is still much more narrow. And also, look at the amount of lag he gets in the arm right here. That's much more than we ever saw out of Lawrence from the other clips there. So a ton of arm lag. Puts a perfect ball on Chase for the touchdown. Does that little dance that they all love doing now. Justin Jefferson. Here's Lawrence again. And Lawrence trying to take a deep shot. But once again, look at how much space he requires to operate. So like instead of being able to throw this ball 50 yards downfield here and avoiding all these angry defenders, he's going to get drilled by these guys. Why? Because he needs to step up into this throw. Like, he needs to step up a yard. Big wide stance, big ugly takeaway, and going through, not a whole lot of arm lag there. Not a whole lot. Bad ball, overthrow, inaccurate. Bad play. Bad mechanics. We're going to see this from another angle. So once again, you see big wide stance. You can see how all the energy is moving forward this way, right? And he's not rotating around this left hip. It's all moving forward towards his target. And then what that results in, bad mechanics. It's a decent lag there, I guess, but sidearm's bad. Ball's never really behind him. Stayed in front of him the entire time. Here we got Joe Burrow again. It's right before half. So I got 14 seconds here. And he's going to deliver a really Jimmy G-like ball, and we're going to see why. So pressure, bottom of the drop back. Doesn't move up at all, doesn't step into the throw, plants the feet, can throw from the bottom of the drop back. Very quick release. Drills the receiver in the face. But you see how Burrow doesn't need to step up into any of these throws. Lawrence needs to step into every throw. To Randy Moss's son. That's pretty sweet. Thaddeus Moss. So here's Burrow again in the third. They're just running away with it at this point. So you see here again, he's going to throw another deep ball. It's a perfect ball. Once again, very narrow base. You can see how narrow his feet are there. Gets up through the throw, creates all this great lag in the arm right there. That's a great throwing motion right there. Great. A lot of lag in the arm. A lot of lag in the arm. Narrow feet. Delivers a great ball, and Jamar Chase drops it. So here's Lawrence again in the fourth now. And we see this is one of his worst throws. So once again, bottom of the drop back. There's only like a 20-yard pass, by the way, in the air. So once again, needs to step up not once, but twice with a giant stride. Very wide feet. Bad takeaway. Bad takeaway. What's the ball doing down here? Should be up here. Should be like that. But instead, he takes it down there. Comes through here. Not a lot of lag. That's like okay, but once again, he had to step all the way into that throw. And look at this ball, by the way. This is just horrible. So that's another thing I've been talking about is all this energy is moving this way, but the ball's going to come out high on him and have like kind of this trajectory. And the spiral is terrible and everything. Goes sailing way over his receiver's head. I listen to the announcers talk about it.
He's just been off target a lot tonight. That was over Justin Ross again.
Yeah, he just seems a bit out of sorts, and I think LSU deserves some credit for that because even when they've not been able to necessarily flush him out of the pocket, even when he's been in the pocket, I think he has felt some pressure. He now has 13 throws that have been overthrown to his receivers.
2nd and 10.
Sometimes when you try to put so much on it, the ball will sail on you.
So Kirk Herbstreit just said, sometimes when you try to put so much on it, the ball will sail on you. Which is exactly right, because Trevor Lawrence is trying to step into these throws so hard and the ball sails. Which is funny because look at it on the very next throw. So Trevor Lawrence certainly has the ability here. On the very next throw, this is a better takeaway. It's still bad, but it's not as far down there. The stance is still wide-ish, but it's not as wide, and it's a much more compact release with a little bit better arm lag, still not a whole ton. But you can see how this is a much more slinging motion than the other things I've showed you. So like it's a much more natural throwing motion. It's on target. So hopefully Lawrence can throw more like that and not like these ones where he needs to, once again, climb up a whole lot, a yard plus climb up, throw with this really wide stance, bad takeaway, bad position there. Comes through, not a whole lot of lag, not a whole lot there. Really wide stance, and these balls are just going to die on him. Because there's not a whole lot on this ball. And that's a flag there because that was offensive pass interference. That's not a touchdown. T. Higgins, get back. You play with Joe Burrow now, so T. Higgins can probably tell the difference. This is Joe Burrow's worst throw of the night. And remember that Carson Wentz one that I showed you earlier, rolling out to the left on the run, trying to throw this ball, and you get into a position like this, and this is a death sentence once again. This is exactly like Carson Wentz. When the arm is in this position and you're rolling out to the left, you cannot make a good throw from this position. And look at how poor this arm lag is. That arm is completely up and down. He's got absolutely nothing on this ball. And of course, the result, the ball goes into the dirt 5 yards before his receiver. Worst throw of the night for him. And the last one that I'll show you from him. So, once again, I've never seen this, by the way. I noticed this when I was watching this. So you can see him adjust the ball once, right after he gets a snap, right? Like, we've all seen that. He needs to adjust the ball once. Watch this. Bottom of his drop back, he does it again. I don't know why that's... I don't know whether it's nerves because they're down by like 17 in the national championship or what, but you can see that he does this extra bounce step at the bottom, and it kind of messes up his timing because he does, again, need to step up so far and throw with this ultra wide base. It's okay lag again there, but you know, the other guys like Mahomes, they're down here, they're almost flat. Lawrence needs to, I mean, these aren't far throws, they're, you know, 25, 30 yards in the air, and needs to step up 2-3 yards in the pocket to be able to do this. Two-yard step up, climb in the pocket with a ultra wide stance to be able to throw this. Another one, all the energy's going over here, the ball comes out kind of like that. Alright, so here are all the throwing frames stitched together and with lines drawn on their arm angles and how far apart their feet are. But you can see all the good throws up top. You can see, you know, their arms are very flat. I got a lot of lag stored up in these arms here. Their feet are generally very narrow. Peyton, Herbert, Tom over here, very narrow feet, or they're off the ground because they can throw from any position. And they got a tremendous amount of lag stored up here. Joe Burrow, narrow feet, tremendous amount of lag. Down here we have the frames of all the poor mechanics guys. You can see a lot of vertical throwing, a lot of loss of arm lag here in a lot of these throws on Trevor and Brock and Castle and Wentz. And when they do get the nice arm lag on the good frames, they do it with a giant lunge of the feet. So you can see how far apart the feet are here, how narrow these stances are. Mahomes, they're a little different. How narrow these stances are here, though, compared to how wide these ones are here. What does this all mean for Trevor going forward? Well, simply, he's got a large space requirement with his step. He's got to really slow with that windup, and that means he has to change because no quarterback that's over 6'5", and he's 6'6", no quarterback that's over 6'5" with that kind of a windup, and no quarterback that needs to step into a throw like he does, no quarterback can succeed in the NFL like that. There's not the space, there's not the time. You got defenders collapsing on you in the pocket, and you need to make windows into you make throws into windows that are too tight for that kind of play style. And all that means is, unfortunately, his floor is very low, like very low, like super bust potential, because he, you know, you can have all the off the field accolades, you can have the winning pedigree like Tim Tebow, like Matt Leinart. They won Heisman's, they won national championships, but they get to the NFL and they suck because their mechanics suck and they can't make the kind of throws that are required in the NFL in those limited space, limited time frames. And so, unfortunately, NFL comparables, I know I'm being a little harsh here, but his NFL comparables, honestly, right now, the way he throws right now, it certainly is Brock Osweiler and Carson Wentz, because, and just watch the past 40 minutes, his throwing motion resembles that of these guys much more than it does of the Peytons and the Toms and the shorter guys, Rodgers, Mahomes, etc. So all in all, I hope he proves me wrong, because he's obviously got all the hype around him. He's got the nickname Sunny or whatever it is, Sunshine. He's got the hair. He's marketable. He has superstar potential. He seems like a great kid. Everyone online says he's a really high character. The media love him. So I hope he proves me wrong. But honestly, I see a lot of flaws in his game, and we'll find out next year and going forward. Thanks, boys. If you made it this far, I really appreciate you sticking around. This took me a lot of effort, so thank you for watching the whole 40 minutes. I know I didn't cover fantasy football, but hopefully this is a source of entertainment or at least some insight